Like you cut G.
Hello Internet, this is Train Theory, and welcome back to Engines of Northern Alberta Railways. Today's episode will be on the General Motors GMD-1. The GMD-1 is an interesting locomotive with a pretty interesting backstory. Join me as I travel back in time to 1956.
Welcome to the Come Zone.
Okay, so the year 1956. John Lennon is like, what, 16, I think? General Motors Diesel of Canada creates an odd locomotive known as the GMD-1. Come to think of it, I'm not actually sure if the GMD-1 has anything really to do with the GMD-1. You know what, just ignore what I just said and you'll forget it. I don't know. The GMD-1s are Canadian-built road switcher units. There were 101 built, 96 for Canadian National, and 5 for Northern Alberta. It's kind of funny, the 5 NAR ones went to the CN after they bought them out in 1981. Built between August of 1958 and April of 1960, the GMD-1s are equipped with EMD 567C V12 prime movers producing 1200 horsepower and were in most cases equipped with Nathan K3L or M3H air horns. Here are a few samples from the last episode. I forgot to mention in the last episode, I listed the Nathan K3L as an M3H. I forgot to change the text, but whatever. Later on, the CN units had Nathan P5s installed on them. The locomotives earlier on ran on A1A trucks for lightweight rails on the prairies. A1A trucks technically have 6 axles, but only 4 are powered. The powered ones are the 2 axles in the front and the back, and the one in the middle is the idler axle, which is, honestly, it's just vibing. This spreads the weight of the locomotive more evenly over the track and counteracts the tendency of trucks to oscillate at high speeds, which is apparently a problem with some 4-axle trucks, and probably why most, if not all, railways have switched to using more 6-axle locomotives. A1As are still technically made, as BNSF recently as in like maybe 2010, ordered some General Electric GEVOs with that wheel arrangement. Later on, or on other types of GMD-1s, they were equipped with FlexiCoil BB trucks. CN also ordered 18 or so GMD-1s that came standard with the BB trucks, and more importantly, steam generators for, you guessed it, passenger service. The Steamies, no, not those Steamies, were numbered 1900 to 1917. 1900 is actually preserved at Winnipeg's Railway Museum inside Via's Station in downtown. Stop by the WRM and give 1900 a visit. That is, if the museum is open during
Kung Flu.
There are, or were, 3 overhauls or rebuilds of the GMD-1s over the years. The first was the 1100 series. CN was upgrading trackage across their system, more specifically on branch lines, meaning they wouldn't need the A1A truck units. The units were re-equipped with BB trucks, new 2,000-gallon fuel tanks, inboard sanding equipment to replace the in-truck boxes, and rebuilt steps for better crew safety. Not every unit was rebuilt to the 1100 series though. The next were the 1600s. The batteries are removed from the short hood and replaced with a chemical toilet and access door. The batteries are moved outboard beside the short hood. The units received anti-climbers, ditch light brackets, straight exhaust stacks, upgraded sanding, snowplows, improved traction motors, and Wabco 26L brakes, replacing the old 6SO systems. The cabs were reorientated to run short hood forward, and interior facilities were improved. They now had a fridge. That's awesome. The 1600 series units were called GMD-1As and received the class designation GR-612A. Oh CN, you and your bizarre engine classifications. Speaking of that, I probably have a video coming on CN, CP, and VIA as well as locomotive classifications or whatever. The last rebuilds were the 1400 series. The earlier 1400 series were rebuilt from the steam-generated 1900 series, and the rest were from the 1000 series, most likely at one point being part of the 11 and 1600 series. The 1400s received upgraded power assemblies, effectively creating a 645C prime mover rather than its original 567C. CN, as of 2020, rosters around 20 or so GMD-1 units across Canada. Most are in Ontario and Manitoba. Sadly, none of them are of NAR heritage whatsoever. Now, as for Northern Alberta's GMD-1s, they were built between 1959 and 1960 and had their horns mounted on the roof of the cabs, the bells mounted on the short hood, and were equipped with A1A trucks. After they were acquired by CN in the early 80s, they were added into CN's GMD-1 series and renumbered and overhauled into CN's 1100 series. They originally had the straight pipes but were re-equipped with spark arrestor stacks and flexi-coil BB trucks, and of course the 2,000-gallon fuel tank. They were numbered 301 to 305, and as with all of the NAR diesels, they were given nicknames. Unlike the GP9s, the GMD-1s were given nicknames after historic Albertan figures. I'm sorry if I butcher any of these names. 301 was J.D. MacArthur. 302 was Chief Moostus. I hope I pronounced that right. 303 was Bishop Gerard. I am just butchering. I was probably just butchering these names. I'm sorry. 304 was Sir Alexander Mackenzie, and 305 was Peter Pond. In the 1970s, NAR acquired two former CN GMD-1, 1072 and 1077, and renumbered them to 311 and 312. I love 311 simply because of the funny 311 was named 12-Foot Davis, and 312 was given the nickname Chief Duncan Tastowitz. I hope I pronounced that right. And now for everyone's favorite NAR game show, Where Are They Now? Again, NAR didn't have too many units, so I'll do this for all three of the locomotives. 301 became CN 1078 and was retired and possibly scrapped around 2007. 302 became CN 1079, later 1179, and then was restored and is now at the Alberta Railway Museum as NAR 302. 303 became CN 1080, later 1180, and most likely was retired and scrapped in the early 2000s. 304 became CN 1081, later 1181, and probably retired and scrapped in the early 2000s. 305 became CN 1082, later 1182, and was most likely scrapped around 2007. 311 became CN 1072 for the second time, later 1172, and later SRY 1205. 312 became CN 1077 again, later 1177, and later RIMX 1177. So, are there any ex-NAR GMD-1s still active on the CN roster?
Nope.
I'm not too sure where they went off to. The most recent photos of them as CN units were taken around 2006 to 2008. According to Rapido Trains Inc., they state that the last one in use was 1177 that was actually running until around 2006. At least we know for sure NAR 302 is safe at Alberta's Railway Museum. Hold it! I've been informed that apparently some of the NAR GMD-1s are now working hard once again in Cuba.
Brazil!
I'm not sure which units exactly. Apparently, the National Railway of Cuba's GMD-1s 51206 and 51209 are possibly former NAR units. I'm not sure which ones exactly though. There may even be more, as I'm not sure where 301 303, 304, and 305, and 312 went off too. And hopefully one day I'll be able to get out to the ARM and see the NAR 302 in person. Well, I guess that's about it for this episode of Engines of NAR. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next and final episode of this series, where we will cover the GMD SD38-2s. This is the Winnipeg Railfan, saying thanks for watching.